morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the time of day you're choosing to watch this. It's me, Terrell, and thank you for joining me on Coffee and Conversations. Now, I'd like to talk briefly about worship. Now, worship does not just mean coming to church every Sunday and singing the same songs, the ones that we know and love. It's not about singing a certain way. It's not about playing our instruments the best way we can. And it's certainly not about looking a certain way. As a musician, I fell for many of these schemes. I was a performer, not a worshiper. And what that pretty much means is that I thought in order to worship God, I had to give him all my talents. I had to use my talents the best way I could. It became religious to me. I just thought that I had to play the best way I could. And that was a form of worship. But that was false. You see, there was no power. Chains weren't being broken. There was no healing. God was not able to use me. And so I quickly realized that I had a misunderstanding of what worship is. As the body of Christ, we need to understand that we need to be in relationship with God constantly. And secondly, we must surrender to him. And that's what I believe worship is. We must surrender to him fully, give our hearts to him. I'd like to share a Bible verse with you. It's John chapter 4. Verse 23, and it reads this: But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him. So he's not looking for religious activity. He wants our hearts. He wants true worship. So my question would be, why should we worship God? Why should we worship God? I'd like to read another Bible verse with you. Just give me a second as I get there. It is Isaiah chapter 25, verse 1. Isaiah chapter 25, verse 1, and it reads this: O Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you. I will praise your name, for you have done wonderful things. Your counsels of old are faithfulness and truth. Why should we worship God? Because he deserves it. He created the universe. He created you and I. As much as we're sinners, he sent his son to die for us when we rightly deserve death. But he saved us. He deserves all the glory and all the worship. So he simply deserves it. And secondly, worship is good for us. I'd like to read another Bible verse touching on why worship is good for us. So, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 says this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. You see, he created us to worship. We're meant to worship him and him alone. But at some point we allowed the devil to creep in and distort our thinking. And so we worship different kinds of things. We worship something every single day. Did you know that you can worship your TV, your money, your spouse? You can worship these things. You can worship cars, shoes. What we do is we replace God with something else. Now, I'm not saying we can't like certain things, but we should never replace it with God. God should always be number one. But what we've done is we've distorted that. You see, things of this world will pass away, and the devil knows that. And we tend to worship things that will pass away, but you know what is everlasting? God is. God is everlasting, and that's where our worship is meant to go. It's meant to go to him. So I just want to encourage you to get back to the heart of worship. He's looking for true worshipers to worship him by the Spirit. So I just wanted to encourage you to really spend time with God and really understand what it means to worship him. He's not looking for religion. He's looking for you just to spend some time with him and put him first. And that is my encouraging thought for you today. God bless you.